In this video, I want to share with you a story over my last 12 months because I wish somebody would have told me this before the last 12 months happened. Because essentially, what I thought before this was like when you step into alignment and you step into your purpose, essentially what happens is like life gets easier, things start falling into place, and you're really able to build and grow rapidly, right? I think it's kind of like when you're in alignment, abundance shows up. And for me, that was not the case. It was this balance between alignment and ease, but also, well, and even in saying that, it was just like I knew what I was doing and I found it, but the challenges got really hard and really intense. And to a degree that I was like, am I doing the right thing? Is this for me? Is this not for me? But essentially what happened over the 12 months, which I think you'll experience too, and this is why I'm sharing it with you, is I went through a massive transformation, and it was not easy and it was super hard, and it absolutely changed me as a person. And going through it, I was like, why, God, why are you doing this to me? If this is my purpose, why am I being challenged? And I almost had this like victim mindset that got absolutely obliterated and was thrown into this new like person from inside out of essentially like, I know I'm supported. I know if I believe in what I'm doing, opportunities will appear. I know if I have a lack in a belief in myself, the opportunities will disappear and they become challenges and obstacles that are essentially designed to shape me into the person that I need to be in order to do what I'm supposed to do here on earth. And that is like the best overall summary I can give to you. We'll go into some details here in a minute, but overall, if you have challenges on your path, I don't want you to think that anything's against you. It's exactly what I said there. It's almost like God, the universe is just shaking you free of these patterns that are holding you back. And when you decide to let go and take this leap of faith and just kind of like, all right, show me that you're supporting me, God, and everything's working. And the challenges that appear will create the person that you need to become along the way. And what do I mean by this? So essentially a year ago, I had a breakup that essentially was like unexpected. And I was like, what's going on? But I also saw it as an opportunity to adventure, travel, and explore because that is exactly what I needed. And essentially, I think I needed this hyper independence to just get really clear on my vision. And what also happened was too is like my friend circle kind of started diffusing, and I'm like, am I a narcissist? Like, what's going on here? Like, why are these people leaving? But it was also like, as a projector, I'm a mental projector, which is a rare design, but I am so empathetic and absorbent of the energy around me. The universe kind of put me in a little cocoon, or in monk mode, as I call it, and was like, you're going to sit here so you can be in your own energy, so you can find your vision, not what your friends' visions and your visions overlap. Because it was kind of like, it was mixing a little bit of everybody that I was around's vision and my vision, and it was really confusing to me for something that I knew I wanted to do. And then I found the strength in that, and was like, the more time I was spending alone, the more clear I was getting on my vision. The more clear I was getting on my vision, the more energy I was feeling, the more excitement, and then the clarity was coming in, and I was able to start building, and I'm like, I don't even know what I'm building, but I just started, and I fell into place, and I'm like, this is awesome. And then ended up acquiring the brand WKNDR Collective randomly. After I went on a trip to Guatemala, I started hinting at like, hey, are you guys trying to get rid of this? PickleCon came, they needed some content, and ended up actually acquiring it from them right after that in August, and was like, yeah, which came with 2,000 shirts, and I'm like, but I knew the clothing company failed, and I was like, well, what are we going to do? And I didn't know what I was going to do, but I just started trying to figure it out. And that ended up leading me down to Austin, Texas, where I was shooting content. And it pretty much led me everywhere last summer, where I was just trying to experience what freedom was, what fun was, what adventure and travel was, so I could truly understand what aspects I love so I could market it. And then before you know it, that ended up leading me to Costa Rica, where I sat with ayahuasca. And I knew sitting with ayahuasca, I needed to sit with her in order to get the downloads and bring the vision in. It was almost like in my mind, I could feel it. It was like, you aren't going to progress forward until you sit with Aya. So the sooner you sit with Aya, the sooner we'll bring this vision to life. And I swear to God, that medicine sitting, I only did 1 cup, and it was probably like 4 to 6 hours. I got so much clarity from Aya, and it didn't come in rapidly. What it did was it kind of came in piece by piece with the lesson she was teaching me. But what she taught me was 3 big things. I have self-doubt that I needed to let go of. I had a lack of boundaries that was essentially allowing people to have access to my power and stealing it from me. And what was the third one? And I had a massive lack mindset. as positive and optimistic as I can be sometimes, this thing was wired to be pretty much in conditioning that my parent or my dad taught me of like, save up for rainy days. You never know when something's not going to work. Like all these fear-based thoughts that weren't mine, because I truly have this abundant mindset. I'm like, if you need it, it will appear. If it's meant for you, you'll find it. It's not this like scared mentality that my dad has, right? And I swear to God, and then Aya, even in that setting, was showing me like, she's like, you're a freedom keeper. You have the key to other people's freedoms, and you offer accessibility. And that was one key word she kept throwing me, was accessibility. And I'm like, that is truly what I'm after in this lifetime, is accessibility. So before we go too deep into that, we'll jump to the next part. But after that, after Aya, she like right away started getting hit with these lessons that sucked. Like they were so draining, and I wanted to avoid them, but I learned quickly the sooner I faced them, the sooner I would grow, and the more that they would, or the less they would appear and the more they'd suppress, because it was essentially like I was creating these instances that were essentially training me to become the person I had to become. So I had business deals that like boundaries were absolutely popping up left and right everywhere, and I'm like, what's going on? And I had to learn boundaries. And then I had people that were constantly doubting me, and I knew I was right. But I would sometimes like kind of fall into their mindset, because I don't know why. And maybe it's something else I had learned, but I had to slowly learn to trust myself, even though people or things in reality were showing me differently. I had to trust that intuition. And then last, I had to get out of this lack mindset that essentially from November, when I came back from Bali, which we'll get to, all the way until pretty much a month ago, that I swear to God, I was absolutely living every month on the last dollar. Like seriously going to Aldi and spending, having $12 to spend for the week for food and trying to figure it out. Like, having to get some help for rent, like all this stuff versus like what I'm putting on social media. I'm not trying to promote that. So I'm like, just building this momentum of this brand. And I'm like, how are we going to do this? And how do we get in that situation was, right after Costa Rica, I came back for 7 days, and then I went to Bali for 2 weeks. And in going to Bali, I had the hardest decision I had to make, which was I can go to Bali, which I'm trading. So they're paying for my flight, my stay, and my food, and I'm creating marketing content for them. And what I had to give up to go was missing a job that was going to pay me $2,500 at the very end of busy season before, essentially from November to March or April, I'm very slow. And I was just like, ooh, and I remember like, I know I'm meant to go to Bali. I know this has been a dream, but it doesn't make sense. But the only thing I'm staying in Kansas City would be for is the money. And I'm like, we're not chasing money anymore. We did that all last year. It led to burnout. And we had to balance, passion and fulfillment along with money. So I ended up going to Bali, and that was one of the greatest times of my life, but also on the backside, it was a nightmare, because all that stuff Aya showed me showed up right afterwards, or even during the Bali trip. There were multiple boundaries that were pushed over. There was, these agreed upon deliverables that kept growing and expanding. And I'm like, what is going on? But essentially what I had to do was learn to handle those situations. And I swear to God, up until probably about March, that was really tough for me, but I figured it out. And then along the way, and going to Bali, I figured if I take this leap of faith, the universe will support me. And it did support me, but not in the way I thought, because I had literally, I went through the hardest financial hardship from the end of November until about May/June this year. And oh my gosh, like I said, it was the most, and I'm literally sitting here like, why, universe? But what it did was, number one, it taught me that I'm always supported, because every bill was able to be paid for. And ones that I haven't been able to be paid for, I'm like, yeah, it'll figure itself out. I had the right jobs come in at the right time to help me pay for stuff. It was absolutely incredible, but it's what I needed to see in order to understand that I am always supported. And I had to go through those lessons to let go of that lack mentality. I had to set boundaries, and I had to understand that to not let people and things sway me from what I'm intuitively downloading, because the thoughts and sometimes that pop in my head, I'm like, that can't be real. But let me tell you, they are real. And if you're somebody who deals with that, believe your thoughts. The more you connect to your inner guide, the sooner things will happen. And then bam, next thing you know, I got 2,000 shirts here. I'm trying to market and grow WKNDR Collective, and it's not working. And I knew this because I was like, well, when I previously did stuff with the brand back in 2020, 2019, I had the hardest time selling shirts, and so did they. That's why they reached out to me, and I got connected with them. But I knew you couldn't sell shirts from a brand that didn't have pretty much a foundation. Like if they were Lululemon shirts, I could sell them all day, right? Because people have it's an established brand that people know. But what I didn't know was like, how can we sell these shirts? And that's when I started like getting really innovative. I was like, well, I think in order to build these shirts, we need to build a brand, we need to build a community. So what I did was actually I set up this e-com store to sell the shirts because I was like, whenever it pops, it'll pop and the shirts will start selling, but let's get it set up. And then it came into the ideation phase of like, what are we building here? What are we trying to help people with? And that's when it came into a very, I say, uncomfortable spot for me of just like, I have no idea. Let's just start connecting with people. Let's hear their stories. Let's see who's attracting. And it led me down this rabbit hole of essentially exposing me everything that I didn't know in marketing and branding from my own experience. I had to learn through the brand Weekender. And I'm like, I remember this moment, I was like, God, why are you doing this to me? Like, why are you putting me in this situation? And what it did was teach me everything that I'm teaching you here in Weekender Collective. It helped me essentially polish up the edges of everything I've learned and create my own systems and processes that I could share with you and essentially put me through everything that I think you're going to go through. And that's what I've documented this whole way through because I'm like, this isn't happening for no reason from my story, as you can understand. I'm like, there's something here. And I was able to kind of see the other side of it and was like, oh. So essentially in some specific things that happened was like, I had too much free time in building Weekender Collective that I had no structure, and I was just kind of like, I didn't set the time aside to do it. And then I kind of realized like I was kind of procrastinating it because I didn't have clarity on what the vision was. But once I gained clarity, it was easy to sit down and work on it. And then when I kind of lost clarity, I had to find more and I'd procrastinate. And then when I had clarity again, it would excel. And then a big key thing I did was create brand guidelines. I'd never done this before, and as somebody who's in branding and marketing, you think I would, but essentially all the companies I was working with had these created when they met me. And real quick, I learned like I needed to create these to create consistency, to have a template on Notion that you'll see on our dashboard that essentially has the colors, the fonts, images, the tone, the voice, the mission, like all this important stuff that I had never done before. And it made it really easy to go back to and stay consistent with it. And talking about consistency, how do you consistently put out content when, I'm running brands and creating content for other companies? How do I do it for myself? And that's essentially what I think people will feel in the 9 to 5 is like when they're working on their 9 to 5 where they get paid, how are they going to have time to do their job? And it taught me, put it at the very beginning of the day and nothing can disrupt it. So what do you have to do? You have to get up maybe a little bit earlier, but if you start your day working on your purpose and the thing that inspires you, you're gonna go to work and feel more charged rather than trying to work on it afterwards when you gave all your valuable energy to the people paying you, And even like the toughest thing was like, how do I share this stuff? Because I'm kind of a lone wolf and I'm like, how do I build a community? And it really taught me through this whole process too of like how to just put stuff out there, how to share openly, how to be vulnerable, how and what to share versus how and what to kind of keep in and work on and then polish it up and then share it again, Like all this stuff just hit me with the boundaries, letting go of the lack mindset and, letting go of self-doubt. And this has been the last year to the degree, and the last one was, this is actually the coolest one, is, so then I knew I wanted to build an online community. School is $99 a month. Kajabi for what I needed was going to be about $175 a month. And I'm living like scraping the edge of the barrel. And I'm like, I don't want to spend this much on these platforms. Honestly, I'll make money from it, but it's cutting into my margins. And I need something that is on the cheaper end that can do the job. And I found this one called PayHip, which I started to build, and it was free. And they were going to take 5% of the revenue on top of what the Stripe does, which is typically 2.9%. So I was going to have to give up like 8%, which I was okay with. I was like, I just want to build this, prove the concept, and then build on Kajabi or School. But I kind of wanted to use both those platforms. And then I had the Shopify store with all the Weekender shirts, and I'm like, I wish there was something that pulled this all together. And then bam, the platform that we're using, withme.so, appeared out of nowhere. I got targeted after clicking into Kajabi stuff, and I was like, this is it. Remember earlier when I said if you believe it, the opportunities will appear? literally sunk that into my mind, and I'm like, holy shit, did I manifest this? And I'm like, I believe I did. I felt like I was literally like, I think God created this for me as a solution. And I've never heard of this platform before. And then I started building it and was blown away. And I'm like, oh my God, this has just answered all my prayers. And it was kind of like, to me, it was like a gift that came to me through all the leaps of faith and challenges that I endured. And that's what I honestly, truly believe that, because it was just so magically how it appeared, and the ability to have the same functions as school and Kajabi and Shopify. You get the gist. And we'll wrap this up here pretty quick. But essentially, and all this transformation was the hardest time I'd ever gone through. But today, even before filming this video, I didn't plan on putting this in the starter kit, but I just felt it was something I needed to share with you, because once again, I thought, like, when I found my purpose and I leaned into what was for me, like, things would just magically come to me. I'd save time and energy, and people would show up, and I'd have money, and it would be effortless, and I could just kind of like sit down and grind. That wasn't the case at all. It was the exact opposite. But through those challenges and obstacles, I became the person I needed to be in order to run an online community like this, in order to, share this content and videos. And even with that being said, I did a 75-day YouTube challenge in the middle of all this, and it just felt innate. And I started posting every day to YouTube, which taught me how to talk to camera and formulate my thoughts and create some kind of a structure, like it's just overall magical how all this stuff came together. And the one thing I would tell you through this whole process is, like, through the hard times and the good times, know that you have to feel the opposite. And what I mean by that is, last year I made the most money I've ever made, had the most successful business, and I just felt amazing, was so happy. And I traveled to Guatemala, Bali, and Costa Rica, and then Austin, Wisconsin. Like, I traveled everywhere. But I overdid it. And then this year I've been like, kind of from burnout, pulling it back, and I had money and everything, and then I had nothing, and had to make it all work. And it's just like, you have to feel the contrast of everything. But the hard times will honestly mold you and sculpt you to everything that you have to become in order to step into your power, step into your purpose, whether that be a leader, whether that be a creative, whether that be a facilitator, or whether that be somebody who leads retreats. Everything that pops up in your life is simply molding you to be the person that you're becoming. And if you go into this phase of loneliness and sovereignty, or just being isolated in a sense, that is the cocoon. That is God kind of forcing everything around you to disappear so that you can get really clear on yourself. You can understand how your body communicates with you. You can understand your gifts. You really get to sit in your purpose, and in boredom, you'll start creating what is for you. And you're going to start finding all the magic in the day-to-day, because you're in monk mode, and that's just like your time to just sit in that cocoon, become that person that you need to be, so when it opens, you're able to step through that transformation. And that's where the true magic is. And when you're on the other side, it feels so good. But if you're somebody in this collective going through the tough shit, the challenges, this is what WKNDR Collective is for. And this is why I created it, because I didn't have this support system from day one of starting this business, when I quit nursing, to now. This is a resource of other people probably going through the same stuff as you, and that's through association by proxy, which is like the people around you are essentially going through the same things as you. And the more you learn and share, the more they share and learn with, or they learn and share with you. And that's the power of this collective, is being around a bunch of people going through the same process. So if you're having hard days where you're emotional and you don't know what to do, drop it in the community, put it out there, have some people, like, start a conversation with other people, ask for help, ask for support, or offer help and support randomly if you feel called to. I've also built chat bots or ChatGPT bots to also accommodate this if I'm not able to step in, that are there for personal development, motivational, emotional support. Like, they're specifically designed with my mind and input to help you through the tough times, because I didn't have that, and I really wish I had somebody to help me through it. But what my lesson was if you're able to do this for yourself, you'll be able to help other people through it. That's what I truly believe. But everything in WKNDR Collective is created for this whole process. And even for the people who are going from the unknown, of taking a leap of faith, and maybe even just quitting their job fully and jumping into entrepreneurship because it's time and it's their calling. This is all for you. All the resources, all the tools, all the calls, all the videos, all the content is to keep you on track, keep you motivated so you have less blue days like I had and you have more golden days where the sun is shining, and every resource you need is at your disposal at a rate that is fair and will keep you motivated but also won't break your bank account. So guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I'm sorry that it was a little long, but I very, very much felt called to share this with you today because I felt like I just kind of broken through on my transformation. As we get closer to launch, I'm so ecstatic. And I'm just seeing like the silver lining of this last year that I went through, all the bullshit, but I'm seeing the reason for it. And I don't want you to go into this process blind. It is hard, it is tough, but everybody in the community will be there to support you through every step so that you can step into your purpose, you can step into your power, and you can do everything that, oh man, I'm getting emotional here. Everything that you incarnated in this lifetime to do. Whew. And I feel like we probably have contracts on that. So thank you, and let's get to the next video.